Chicho, Ivan, everyone at Gin Mare, thank you so much for this opportunity to tell everyone about who I really am. Even though I don't really belong in this world, I've somehow found my way inside of it. Like I think for many people it's happened this way. It's a beautiful world to be in, of course, spirits, gin, cocktails, it's a magical world, and I've become very attracted to it and I've found my way inside, and I'm really happy and really proud to be a part of it. So thank you guys. Thank you also for this lovely bottle, which I use daily for my gin tonics, also dirty martinis. And this is my favorite bar spoon as well. Thank you, Ivan, who gifted me this in Ischia. And thank you guys. So who am I? Shane Eaton, currently a professor in physics at Politecnico di Milano, based at Politecnico di Milano. I'm actually employed by the National Research Council. My main focus is on research. We're trying to build a next generation computer instead of diamond by modifying diamond, in this case synthetic diamond, so not this sort of like naturally found diamond, which is going to be more expensive and also has some ethical issues associated with it. Synthetic diamonds that you can actually grow in a chemistry laboratory. So we want to essentially modify this diamond with a laser to make an ultra-fast quantum computer inside of it. So that's what I do. I'm a nerd. I'm a physicist, engineer. I grew up in Vancouver, my hometown. I did my bachelor's degree at the University of British Columbia, along with my friend Paul Gaby, who I'm going to mention later on. He also did engineering along with me. And that's sort of the start of my career. So I found myself to be better than the average person at math and physics. And I also love math and physics. That sort of drew me towards a career as an academic, now a physics professor. So after my experience at Vancouver, I did my PhD in Toronto at the University of Toronto. I got a degree actually in electrical engineering, but again, the main focus was applied physics, lasers, things like this, really nerdy stuff. And I was very lucky because my PhD supervisor at the time, Peter Herman, he sent me around the world to various conferences. And I was very lucky to go to San Francisco every year for a very important laser conference. And it was there that I met a few researchers from Milano, and we hit it off. They eventually offered me a position after my PhD, allowing me to move to Milano. And I was very excited about this because it was always my dream to move to Italy, in part thanks to my uncle Dino, who's he's not my blood uncle, but he inspired me at a very young age when I was about 10. He opened an Italian restaurant in Little Italy in Vancouver and just blew me away with Italian cooking. I was, of course, used to eating really kind of mediocre quality Canadian food. Sorry, Mom, I love you, but your cooking is not as good as Uncle Dino's. And that really opened my eyes to a new world about cooking, about good food. I had no idea that food could be good. I just thought it was something you did to sort of not be hungry. I never knew it could be a magical experience, an experience that essentially gives you these really unique emotions. So thank you, Uncle Dino, for that. After that experience, I wanted to learn so much more about Italy, not just the food, but the culture, art, sports. I started following the national football team. Of course, they played only every 4 years, which is a bit boring for me in Canada. So I decided eventually to choose kind of randomly a team from the championship. And I chose Inter because I love the colors blue and black. In fact, I now have even the tattoo of Inter on my arm. So it was eventually this love, which started off as just a curiosity, this love for Inter that made me decide I've got to move to Milano and follow my team. And of course, I had the job lined up. And once I arrived, I discovered Italy's a magical place. It's great people. You have the sea, you have the Mediterranean nearby. You have the Alps. You have this really small country, but it's really beautiful because you can explore it very easily. And after 100 kilometers, everything changes. The dialect changes, the cuisine changes, the people change. It's no other place I'd like to live in the world. So, and it all comes back to Uncle Dino, who inspired me at a very young age. So I moved here studying physics, and which I still do, of course, as a professor. Why cocktails? I mean, like everyone, back in the day, I drank commercial cocktails in the disco, maybe sort of just to get a nice buzz with very little money. I didn't really drink for, let's say, quality. I drank more for quantity, which is, of course, the wrong way to drink. But of course, at a young age, this is sort of normal. It wasn't until an experience in Singapore, believe it or not, that I finally discovered the cocktails could be good, something amazing. And it was thanks to my friend Paul, who I studied with in Vancouver during my undergraduate degree in engineering, who eventually, after a law degree in Toronto, he moved to New York, where he discovered craft cocktails at places like Milk and Honey. After he did an MBA, he eventually ended up in Singapore doing finance, made a bit of money, was very successful, decided to quit his job, which was a big risk, because also in Singapore there was nothing going on at the time. He wanted to open the first New York-style cocktail bar in New York, which was 28 Hong Kong Street. Of course, as being basically my best friend, he invited me over for the opening party, and it was there that I had craft cocktails. I tried the entire first list by Michael Callahan, and that opened my eyes to this new world. And after that experience, I found myself being a cocktail lover. Eventually moved back, of course, took the plane back to Milano, where I was working at the time, and wanted to find similar experiences. Eventually found Mag Cafe, places like 1930, amazing experiences in terms of the aperitivo, which everyone knows in Milano, places like Barbasso, Camparino, and all of these great experiences. As someone also new in Milano, I mean, when I first arrived, I really had no friends, but my first really great experiences, other than of course the stadium with Inter, were at a cocktail bar, and that's where my first friendships were made, and all of this inspired me to start writing about this. So sharing my positive experiences, sharing my love for good food and good drink with my friends, but also maybe unknown people, strangers, maybe tourists, people who were coming to Italy for the first time, like I was when I had no friends and didn't know where to go. And this was the blog Questa Mia Milano, which means this is my Milano. And it's a blog which has been going on for about 7 years. And I essentially write about the best food and drink experiences in the city, experiences that really inspire you, that are good for the soul, just bring serenity to our lives. And that's the blog. It's always been that way. It's never been about money, and it will continue to be that way. So that's basically who I am. Over the years, I've found myself wanting to explore more and more, and through friendships, through luck, through also passion, I've found myself even organizing events in the cocktail world, in Singapore mainly, of course, because of my connections there through Paul and through my many visits there also for my normal job. And that's how it went. And I also now, of course, being a scientist, I have a different perspective on cocktails, on the methods behind making cocktails, these modern techniques. And so, in fact, I also write now for Glass Magazine for Amy Smith, which is probably my most amazing job. I write about the science, the physics behind modern cocktail making methods, such as the centrifuge, rotovap. I even have an article about the science behind ice, how to make nice, clear ice at home even. And so that's who I am. As I mentioned before, I don't really belong in this world, but I give a different perspective to the cocktail world as an outsider, as a non-bartender. I don't have a bar. I don't have a product. I'm just a writer, an enthusiast, a drinks writer, if you want to call it. And so I give a different perspective on this world, and I think it's useful to see it through different eyes. And so my superpower is this sort of bridge, this sort of strange bridge between two completely different worlds. This daytime job I have, which is quite nerdy, in the lab, physics, diamonds, lasers, and this nighttime life of martinis, old fashions, Martinez, cocktails. They're two completely separate worlds, but they work together for me because, in fact, my day job is quite stressful. It's a very intellectually demanding job, and in fact, that's why I go to the bar at night. It's an outlet for recharging myself, recharging my creative juices, but even coming up with an amazing idea. So, for example, the idea about this diamond quantum computer, it came to me sitting at the bar counter at Mag Cafe. I found myself in this really zen state, and was just super happy, super relaxed. And the idea just naturally came to me. Why not apply, my knowledge of lasers, burning things with lasers, which is what I tell my friends I do, which is sort of what I do. Applying that to diamonds to make this quantum bit inside a diamond to make a quantum computer. I would have never come up with this idea if I weren't in that right frame of mind. And the cocktail bar put me in that frame of mind. So the two for me work perfectly together. So my superpower is, I'm successful in the day job as a professor. I've had many publications, We've won lots of research money. We won a recent project that's worth around 4 million euros to study this research topic on diamonds. And at night, I go out almost every night for either an aperitivo, a dinner, an after dinner drink. And people are often confused. How can he possibly do it? But that's it. They work together. That's my life. They're two passions which are very different. But for me, for who I am, they work perfectly. They're married perfectly together. And my superpower is being able to be somewhat successful in both. After drinking 497 dry martinis last year, which is a lot of booze, I decided this year to sort of go a little bit lower ABV. And in fact, this is a concept which has been around. It's not new. It's been a concept for the past 5 years or so. But it's something I see it will continue to grow. And you see this with highballs being a very popular drink around the world. The gin tonic, of course, the gin and tonic, sorry, as we call it in America. These are really, this is a category of drink which is really picking up. And you see also, for example, what Dante did in New York, being the best bar in the world. There in their menu, they're essentially proposing a low ABV category of drinks. So light Negronis, spritzes, Garibaldi, things like this, which don't really overwhelm you. You can have more than one, which is good for you too. You can stay longer at the bar with your friends. You can have a full night instead of drinking only a couple drinks and then having to go home right away because you're really maybe too buzzed. So I think low ABV is the way to go. Session drinking, having multiple drinks in the same bar. And so that's a category which I see will continue to pick up steam. In fact, now I'm going to have a gin and tonic with, of course, our favorite gin here. And we're going to add, of course, our very best ice. This is homemade ice, of course. And let's just stir that down. So we'll very gently add that to our glass. And very importantly, not to destroy our bubbles. Just give it a very light stir. There we have it. So that's it. For me, that's the new concept in drinking low ABV, sessionable drinks. So how has this current crisis we're dealing with changed the way I drink? Well, being locked down at home for 3 months here in Milano, which is sort of the epicenter initially for this crisis, was really tough. I mean, I was used to going out. I mean, actually traveling around the world all the time, never being in Milano. And when I was in Milano, going out every night to local restaurants and bars. And so, I was used to drinking at my favorite cocktail bars, my favorite restaurants. And being at home, I essentially was in big trouble because I don't know how to cook and I didn't know how to bartend. And so those are two things that I've sort of practiced while being stuck at home. And so now I'm sort of like a reasonably good home bartender. I learned how to shake thanks to Socio, and I've learned how to mix martinis thanks to my friends Zdenek Kastanek in Singapore. And so I've been able to survive these 3 months and be actually pretty happy. And at the same time, be a more complete person. I can now, make food. I can make cacio e pepe. I can make a Manhattan. I can make a dirty martini using what I have at home. So that's how it's changed my drinking. And I'm happy now that the bars are open. I no longer have to bartend at home and have much better quality drinks in the bars. So that's my experience. And we're slowly starting to reopen our economy. Of course, the tourism's not there, so we're losing out on the important summer months in terms of the hospitality industry. However, there are signs of hope. The bars that have reopened are doing reasonably well. Of course, they're half-staffed right now. But the hope, of course, is that things will improve. Stay positive, help our friends, help the industry, and help the world by spreading just serenity and not being negative. Of course, it's totally human to have negative reactions from time to time. You see it. We have to work together, and eventually we're going to come out of this, and we're going to be just as successful as we were before. I remember just before the lockdown, Milano was really at the top of the world. They were in the cocktail world. There were events essentially every day, which is amazing. I remember 3 years ago, there was maybe one event per month. But Milano 6 months ago, there were essentially 2-3 events, important events per day. So it was really, really amazing. And we're gonna get back to that. We're gonna get back to that, not only in Milano, in London, in New York, in Singapore. As we discover a solution for this terrible, we're going to get back to where we were before and to enjoying life, enjoying friendship over a nice gin and tonic. Cheers.